You won't believe it. An interview with Nikola Tesla, hidden for 83 years, has surfaced from the depths of the archives. But what if I tell you, right before his death, he gave a conversation that vanished, an interview classified by the FBI. Because in it, he said what those in power were never meant to hear, about God, about life after death, about the fact that the energy of thought is real. These words never made it into the newspapers. They were never spoken in universities. They disappeared, along with his body. And now, they've been found. A folder marked, Restricted, National Security Case. Listen carefully. After this, you will never be able to look at life the same way again. Imagine New York, January 1943. Outside, a snowstorm. The clock strikes midnight. On the table, a lamp, a notebook, and several pages filled with neat handwriting. On the bed, a man the world had almost forgotten. Nikola Tesla. Genius, visionary, madman. The journalist turned on the recorder. Tesla lifted his gaze and said calmly, as if announcing a scientific fact, "No human being who has ever lived has died. Not one." The journalist didn't believe it. "Sorry. What do you mean?" Tesla looked him straight in the eyes. "We are not bodies. We are waves. We are vibrations. We are part of an enormous spectrum. And death is merely a transition." He spoke without pathos, as if explaining a formula. "I've seen stars disappear," he continued, as if consuming their own light. Then I understood. Energy doesn't die. It changes form, and the human soul is energy too. He smiled for the first time. "Science will prove it someday, but not in our lifetime." The journalist instinctively adjusted the recorder. It suddenly hissed, as if someone had touched the microphone. Tesla paid no attention. "When a person loves," he said, "their energy changes the air, the water, even the stars. I've seen it. Everything living responds. Everything." The journalist kept writing, unable to believe his eyes. "You mean to say that emotions are energy?" "More. They are the foundation of the universe. When humanity understands this, it will stop killing." He said it quietly, almost like a prayer. And at that moment, outside the window, something thudded dully, as if snow had fallen not on the ground but on metal. The journalist flinched. Tesla did not. These lines today would be called esotericism, but back then, in 43, they sounded like defiance, to the church, to science, and to the government. Tesla knew he was being watched. His phone was tapped, his letters opened. He looked at the journalist and said, "My experiments with wireless energy are only the beginning. I found a way to transmit power not through wires, but through the air itself. And not only electricity. Consciousness can be transmitted too." The journalist froze. "Consciousness?" "Yes," Tesla nodded. "Thoughts, memory, emotions. After death, a person doesn't vanish, he merely changes frequency. The energy of the soul remains. It can be captured, even restored." He fell silent. The room grew still. Only the lamp crackled softly. Then Tesla added, "I tried." He raised his eyes, and almost succeeded. The journalist felt a chill run down his spine. He didn't yet understand what he had just heard, but already knew this recording was never meant to be heard. The journalist was silent for a long time. He didn't know what to ask, but finally exhaled. "What exactly were you trying to do, Mr. Tesla?" He didn't answer right away. He looked out the window. Beyond the glass, snow was falling slowly, as if time itself had slowed down. "I wanted," he said, "to illuminate the earth, completely, to create a second sun." The journalist gave a nervous laugh. He thought he had misheard, but Tesla didn't smile. "I could have done it," he said. "I knew how to charge the planet with energy, without wires, without oil, without coal, simply through resonance with its heart." He spoke softly, almost wearily, but in his eyes, something flashed like a child's wonder.
Then he paused. They would have lost their power. The words hung in the air, heavy as current. Somewhere behind the wall, a switch clicked. The journalist flinched. For a second, it seemed someone was standing in the corridor. Tesla continued slowly. My calculations showed the Earth is alive. It breathes. It has a pulse. And if you come into harmony with it, you can release infinite energy. He closed his eyes, as if listening to something others could not hear. I was close, very close. The journalist swallowed. The flame of the lamp flickered. The air grew thick, like before a thunderstorm. They read my letters, Tesla said quietly. They listen in. They're afraid I'll show people how to live without fear and need. He opened the desk drawer, took out a folder, yellowed pages, diagrams, formulas. On one, a tower reaching into the clouds. Caption, Project Sunlight. This device, he said, could have made nights bright. It would feed cities with the energy of the atmosphere itself. I tested it in Colorado. The Earth responded. I felt it vibrate. He placed his hand on his chest. It was like the breath of God. The journalist couldn't breathe. His fingers trembled. Why didn't you finish the experiment? Because humanity is not ready, he answered calmly. Energy is power. But it requires a pure heart, and the world is full of greed. He ran his hand over the pages, as if over living beings. I saw my inventions turned into weapons. Then I understood. I must remain silent. He said it almost in a whisper, as if to someone standing behind the wall. The journalist involuntarily turned his head. Through the crackle of the lamp came a faint sound, as if someone was breathing nearby. Tesla added quietly, I will leave traces. When humanity matures, it will find them. Later,
the police report would read, in the room were found papers with unknown diagrams, all materials confiscated by FBI agents. A few hours later, the agents arrived. They opened the safe, took everything, blueprints, notebooks, even a small metal cylinder that Tesla called the heart of the ether. The journalist who conducted that interview disappeared a year later. The newspaper was shut down, but a copy of the conversation remained, unsigned, undated, and in it, words that sounded as if from the future. In 100 years, people will speak of dark energy, Tesla said. They will discover that it surrounds us. It is the source of time, gravity, and consciousness. On that day, science will become prayer. He paused. At that moment, somewhere behind the wall, there was a dull click, as if the recording had started again. Understand, God is not an old man in the clouds, he said. God is energy. It does not judge. It simply is. Like light. It is in everything, in the earth, in the stars, in every breath. The journalist wrote in his notebook, he speaks like a prophet. Tesla smiled. There are no prophets, he said. There are only those who can hear the universe, the rest are deaf. He raised his gaze, and in his eyes flickered the reflection of the flame, like the echo of distant lightning. For the first time, the journalist realized, this man was not speaking in metaphors. He had seen what he spoke of. The journalist no longer wrote. He simply listened. Tesla spoke more and more softly, as if afraid that someone was listening through the walls. I have watched stars disappear, he said, but they do not die. They return. I named one of them the Black Star. Its light is so dense that you could hold it in your palm, and yet it is heavier than the solar system. He fell silent. The lamp flickered, as if in response. Later, people will call them black holes, Tesla said, but they will be mistaken. It is not death. It is transition. It is a door. Beyond it lies the beginning of everything. The journalist could barely breathe. The beginning of what? Life after death, Tesla replied. True life. Not of the body, not of time, only of energy. He touched his chest. I feel it every time someone dies. You think it's just sadness? No, it is the pain of the universe. The words fell heavy, like ash. You mean to say, the universe suffers? The journalist breathed out. Yes, Tesla nodded. When harmony is broken, everything suffers. When an innocent dies amid echoes in the stars, when a child cries, space itself trembles. We are all connected, down to the last particle. He closed his eyes. I physically feel it when a good person dies. My heart tightens, because we are made of the same light, and when it fades somewhere, it becomes darker everywhere. The journalist made a note. Empathy of a cosmic scale. Tesla continued. That's why I believe no one dies. We simply return to the source like a wave in the ocean. We were never born. We just became visible, then disappeared. But we always remained. He spoke calmly, without mysticism, like a physicist explaining a formula. There is no death, he said. There is transition. We are energy, and energy is eternal. Even when it seems that everything is over, nothing disappears. Everything simply changes form. The journalist swallowed. But you are a scientist, Mr. Tesla. You cannot rely on faith, can you? Tesla opened his eyes. In them flickered the fire of the lamp. I don't believe. I know. I have seen. He leaned forward. When you work with lightning, with vibration, with plasma, you begin to understand. Light is alive. It remembers. He smiled tiredly, almost fatherly. I know how light sounds, how electricity smells when matter is born. Everything around us is music. We just don't hear it. But when we die, we hear it again. The room was so quiet that the sound of falling snow could be heard. God is not someone, Tesla whispered. It is something. It is the light from which everything arose. It does not judge, does not punish, does not forgive. It simply is. And when we die, we return to it. That is eternity. He looked at the lamp. It flickered suddenly, slowly, as if it understood. The journalist shuddered. You mean to say, matter is alive? Tesla nodded. Of course, everything is alive, even what you call dead, stones, metal, air. Everything vibrates, just at different frequencies. When a person dies, their frequency changes, but they remain part of everything. No one disappears, no one. He looked at his hands. If people understood that, there would be no wars, no fear, because to kill another is to kill a part of yourself. The journalist felt a slow chill crawl down his spine. Tesla continued, already in a whisper. Good and evil are not morality. They are physics. He stood up, walked to the window. Snow was falling, white, silent, like the ashes of stars. Good creates harmony. Evil destroys resonance. When you commit evil, you disrupt the frequency of the universe. And it responds, with illness, with disasters, with pain. That is cosmic pain. He paused as if listening to something. But everything can be restored. You only need to stop destroying. You must begin to listen. He closed his eyes. Someday humanity will hear this music. Then it will understand. God is not in the sky. He is within. He turned around. His gaze, direct, clear, like lightning. I created a device. I wanted to capture that sound. The journalist lifted his head. A device. The resonator of consciousness. It could capture the residual energy of thought, what doesn't disappear after death. Every person leaves a trace of vibration. I wanted to learn to speak with it. He paused. But they didn't allow it. When I told my investors, they were frightened. Then the agents came, took everything, and said, forget. The journalist asked, and did you forget? Tesla looked at him, tired, but with a smile. I cannot forget. I still hear that noise, out there beyond sound, where the dead live. They haven't gone. They just changed frequency. He walked to the window. The snow glowed in the light of the street lamp, as if someone had turned on an invisible sun. When I worked with lightning, I realized lightning is not electricity. It is a message from another world. If you could hear its voice, you would understand. There is mind there. There is speech. The journalist turned pale. Mind? Tesla nodded. The universe thinks. It is alive. When a star explodes, it is not the end. It is an inhale. Then an exhale. And we are part of that breath. He looked at the lamp. The flame trembled as if it too exhaled. I tried to revive light, not as a poet, as an engineer. I wanted to open gates between worlds, to thaw the energy of matter, to return it to its original frequency. But people were afraid. He lifted his gaze. They think light is safety, but real light is terrifying, because it shows everything. The night was drawing to an end. The blizzard outside was dying down. In the room, a single lamp burned, old, trembling like a living heart. The journalist understood. The conversation was ending. But Tesla wasn't in a hurry. He sat, staring into the flame, speaking not to a man, but to time itself. You know, he said quietly, humanity is asleep, deeply, for a long time. It will not be awakened by war, nor by science. It will be awakened by light. The journalist looked up. What light? The one inside us. Ancient. We once called it the soul, and then forgot. We built cities, machines, weapons, and lost ourselves. Everything I did, I only tried to remind, not to invent, to return. He smiled sadly. The flame reflected in his eyes, like in an old mirror. Someday they'll understand, he said. When they stop killing for the sake of truth, when they realize that truth isn't in books nor in temples, but in the vibration of the heart, then a new era will begin, the era of light. The journalist asked, and when will that happen? Tesla looked into the void. In 100 years, maybe less. People will begin to feel again, not believe, feel. They will remember that one can heal with sound, feed on light, move objects with thought. But most importantly, they will stop destroying. He fell silent. Outside, the wind stirred. The flame of the lamp swayed, as if breathing with him. They'll try to stop it, he added. The FBI, governments, churches, all who cling to power. Because if a person realizes he is energy, he can no longer be controlled. He cannot be made to fear, and fear, that is their food. The journalist whispered, almost inaudibly, You mean light will win? Tesla nodded. Yes, but only after darkness. Darkness is needed to see the light. People will go through pain, disease, loss. But in the end, they will understand. God is not the one who saves. God is themselves. He lowered his gaze. I won't live to see it, but if you survive and tell them don't be afraid, even if I disappear, my formulas will remain in the air, my thoughts in the ether. Energy never dies. The lamp trembled. The flame flared brighter. Tesla looked at it, as if hearing music. When I die, he said, you will hear a noise. It's not the wind. It's me. Don't be afraid. It's just another frequency. The journalist wanted to answer but couldn't. The words stuck in his throat. Tesla stood up, extended his hand, shook it firmly, a faint discharge between their palms. Tell them, he said, that the light is alive, and that death is a return home. He released his hand, smiled. Do you think anyone will publish this interview? The journalist lowered his eyes. I'll try. Tesla smiled softly, almost childlike. No need, not yet. Let them sleep a little longer. The light will find its way. Those were his last words. A week later, the body of Nikola Tesla was found in his room at the New Yorker hotel. On the nightstand stood that same lamp. On the glass, a handprint like a burn of light. Next to it, a short note, unsigned. We do not die. We simply change frequency. FBI agents arrived a few hours later. They opened the safe, took everything, drawings, formulas, even letters. The case, classified. In the report, only one line. Materials of national importance, classified. The journalist vanished. They said he was seen in Argentina, then nowhere. But many years later, an audio recording surfaced. Rustle, crackle, and a quiet voice as if from afar. Man is light enclosed in flesh, and when the flesh fades, the light returns to its source. All is one, all is alive, all is eternal. On the tape, the date, January 1943, and a stamp. Property of the United States government. Now copies circle the world, and someone whispers, "When humanity is ready, the light will return, and then fear will disappear." For now, we can only listen, and remember the words of the man who knew more than he was allowed to. Nikola Tesla, the genius they feared, the man who proved there is no death,